Here's today's top news from the occupied Palestinian territory in Sudan. In Gaza, hunger is deepening with the highest rates of child malnutrition ever recorded. The UN says that in July alone, almost 12,000 children were identified as acutely malnourished. That's out of 136,000 children screened. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. At the same time, Israel continues to block the entry of much-needed shelter items. Over 1 million shelter items procured by humanitarian organizations are stranded in Jordan and Egypt, just waiting to be delivered. No new shelter materials have entered Gaza since March, so the situation is getting worse. Families are living in overcrowded, unsafe conditions. Some have been displaced multiple times. In Sudan, the humanitarian situation is also deteriorating. The UN says that more civilians are at risk, and the situation is becoming increasingly dire. Civilians are trapped, displaced, or returning to ruins. And globally, the funding gap in the humanitarian system is widening. So far this year, less than 17% of the $46 billion needed for humanitarian aid has been received. This means that millions of people will not get the aid that they need. Today's top news from the occupied Palestinian territory. Hunger deepens in Gaza as malnutrition crisis worsens. In Gaza, the number of children facing severe malnutrition is rising at an alarming rate. More than 12,000 children have been identified as acutely malnourished in just 1 month. With 40 in critical condition, humanitarian access constraints are making the situation worse. Only 3% of children under the age of 5 are receiving the nutrition supplies they need. And the distribution of other key nutrition items has also declined sharply. Without urgent action, the number of malnourished children will continue to rise. In Sudan, the humanitarian situation is deteriorating, with people trapped, displaced, or returning to ruin, says OSHA's Director of Operations and Advocacy. Civilians in Sudan are paying the price of this war. The world is watching as the situation in Sudan spirals out of control. And in other news, the funding shortfall for the global humanitarian response plan is deepening. So far, only 17% of the $46 billion required has been received. This funding crisis is having a devastating impact on people around the world. Without your support, we cannot help those who are suffering. Please donate now.